Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another episode on Beyond the Touchline. This is the post-game week show for game week 17. It was a crazy week of football for sure. A lot of things have happened. Let's talk about it. Let's jump right in. Drop a like on the video if you guys are enjoying this series, and of course subscribe if you're new around here, and of course get discussing in the comments down below as well. But yep, let's jump right in. Right, so obviously, again, looking at the updated Premier League table after game week 17, Liverpool still top of the table, and in fact they extend their lead over Chelsea, who obviously drew against Everton over the weekend. But yeah, Liverpool obviously a thumping 6-3 win. We'll talk about that later. But within the top 8, 6 of the 8 clubs have won their games. Obviously, Man City lost and Chelsea drew. And everyone below that, apart from Wolves, have obviously secured a win. So obviously, the gap between the top 8 and the rest of the field is kind of increasing, but of course, you know how tight it is always in that midfield. It's been like this for the past couple of game weeks for sure. You know, we've got, I think you can argue, right, from Bournemouth all the way down to Brighton, 3 points, but you're separated by like 5 to 6 places. That's pretty incredible. And of course, from Everton to Wolves, you know, we've got this, Everton to Ipswich now, we've got a 4-point gap there. Again, all these clubs are arguably relegation contenders, but of course Southampton, they're still on their own rock bottom. Arguably the club was obviously struggled the most. Wolves have had their new manager, Southampton as well have had their new manager. Wolves had their manager for the game, but Southampton didn't have theirs, so Southampton will only have their manager for the next game. But yeah, it's been quite a crazy game week, as you can tell, up and down really in terms of results. And yeah, and in terms of these statistics, obviously Haaland still didn't score goals, but Salah had 2 against Tottenham, and that's put him up there now, top of the Golden Boot standings. Palmer still at 11. Isak now and then Wemo both 10. Wood didn't score either. He's also on 10 goals. As for the assist-wise, Salah with 11, Saka with 10, Diallo, Robertson, Palmer all still with 6. Now, obviously, that would suggest now Salah is arguably the best player in the Premier League at the moment. 26 goal contributions in 16 Premier League games. That's just incredible in my opinion. But yeah, that's really it for the statistics. Now let's have a look at my predictions. As you can tell, obviously not very good on my end. I've only managed to predict the outcome of 2 results, and that being Ipswich, Newcastle, and Manchester United and Bournemouth. But that's it really, nothing else. Every other result has been a failure. I think the biggest upset, or rather the biggest ones that I didn't expect to happen, yeah, definitely Chelsea for sure. And Fulham, didn't expect them to not get a win against Southampton. We're going to have a look at the results now. As you can see over here, Villa 2, City 1, West Ham 1, Brighton 1, Ipswich 0, Newcastle 4, Brentford 0, Nottingham Forest 2, Palace 1, Arsenal 5, Everton Chelsea a goalless draw there, Man United 0, Bournemouth 3, Fulham 0, Southampton 0, Leicester 0, Wolves 3, and of course a blockbuster weekend to wrap that up, Tottenham 3, Liverpool 6. So yeah, those are the results of the weekend. Now let's jump into each game individually and let's talk about them. Right, first things first, obviously Villa and Man City, 2-1 defeat for us, the Blues. Again, it's another game of very evident, you know, poor decision making, a lack of confidence. Players are just not really ticking. Erling Haaland is still missing. Mistakes, I guess, left, right, and centre, not really threatening when we were attacking. I mean, when the game started, it took Villa less than 30 seconds to get their first shot. And thankfully, Ortega made a brilliant save. And a corner, in swinging corner, another brilliant save. Goal line saving, that was from Ortega. And I think that just set up for the rest of the game, really. You know, when Villa had such a lively start, and we know how good Villa can be, and when they're able to create their sort of chances early on in the first half, or really early on in the game, in fact, I think it's probably expected of them to continue that sort of momentum, and they clearly did. It's poor again from City, evidently showing relegation form for sure. I mean, when you come into each game and now we're almost expecting a defeat or expecting even more drop points, and now to drop behind Villa in the table as well. It's just ridiculous what I'm seeing. Villa exceptionally good. I think they just played their normal game, but it's just because of the fact that City have looked so bad to the point they look like a subpar team, and that just gave Villa an opportunity, and that's how the games have been going for the past 10 to 12 games now. Opponents that face City They may not be as good as they need to be. They can still afford to put in a decent performance against City. So, but I mean, statistically, have had amount of same shots on target. But obviously, Villa managed to create chances that I felt were a lot more threatening, chances that stood out a lot more to me compared to City. I mean, even the goal that Foden scored, I mean, goodness me, finally Foden scored a Premier League goal. But that goal I felt was really scruffy as well. Yeah, just poor. I mean, just lack of creativity. I mean, you can get chances anywhere, really, from outside the box, from 50 yards out, but you've got to create chances that are really going to threaten the goalkeeper or threaten the opposing team. But obviously, that's not happened. And again, another game of conceding 2 goals. It's just diabolical. I don't have anything more to add except that I'm not exactly too sure when this will end. Of course, I think the question would be, will Pep leave? I think if this sort of form obviously continues for the rest of the season, then I can see him leaving. The expectation at the club is obviously high. I mean, at the start when the bad form happened, it's arguably just, we can argue it's a wobble. But now looking at this, it doesn't sound like a wobble. It sounds like problems, really, really big problems happening week in, week out. So things obviously got to change. I mean, I'm saying this every time now, but it doesn't look like it's changing. It looks like it's still same things still happening week in, week out. Will January be a turning point? As in, will signings help? I'm not exactly too sure. Yeah, I mean, more troubles than anything, to be honest. But Villa, good on them to actually get the win, because I think it's important, when you're sort of trying to come in and you want to make the best of the opportunity in each game. Good. They've done their job to get the win. Fantastic. Good for Villa. I mean, now they're in the top 6. I mean, a little bit of fortune's turning around from Villa, to be honest. I mean, I think initially, at the start, they were good and then they had a little bit of a wobble, but now it looks like they're starting to be a little bit more consistent at times. I think the inconsistency is still there, but I think it's starting to get a little bit better. I think they're sort of finding back a little bit of their form. And yeah, hopefully it will get better for Villa. But City, of course, I hope things get better for the club, but I mean, it's not in my hands to decide if that's going to happen or not. I mean, again, as a fan, we just only can observe what's happening. But to me, this entire downfall is yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, a poor game for City, a decent game from Villa. They took 3 points. Yeah. Right, next game, West Ham and Brighton. Now, I think to look at it in a perspective that I think Brighton again had an okay game. Of course, another drop points for Brighton, really. They've not won in, how many Premier League games now? 5. I think at least the last 5 Premier League games, they've not picked up a win. And obviously, we see them falling off the Premier League table, just like City, essentially. But otherwise, what do I feel of that game? I think it was okay, really. I mean, West Ham, did they have the chances to potentially eke out a win? Maybe. What is my opinion after this game? I mean, it's still very hard to judge, but arguably, I think it's an improvement for West Ham. Not necessarily fumbling a lot anymore. I think it's a little bit of potential that I'm seeing within the club. Maybe things are starting to click. I mean, they're unbeaten in their last 3 games now, which is not too bad in my opinion. And honestly, they're like, 5 points away from top 10. It's not the end of the world again. So yeah, it's very hard to put into perspective what I think. Obviously my confidence on Lopetegui is still not high. I mean, not only on results wise, but play style wise, I still feel that West Ham does look, in my opinion, like really, really rigid the way that they're playing still. Not exactly the most fluid or necessarily the most like a free flow attacking sort of play that I think, will probably suit the club a little bit better. But otherwise, I think it's not too bad. But I think from Brighton's perspective, I still think it's still poor, considering the start they've had and the potential of the squad. I still believe that there's more in Brighton to put in. Again, arguably they should have won the game. They could have won the game. But again, maybe because of a lack of form. And that was actually why I decided to predict a West Ham 2-1 win. I felt like maybe their miseries were going to be compounded. But, I mean, if you look at the game, you look at the highlights, maybe. But at the same time, you could argue that Brighton probably stood a better chance of winning at times. Yeah, but obviously West Ham did obviously had some chances to probably win the game. But I think it's a game where it could have gone either way. So maybe a draw is a fair result. But considering the stature of the two clubs, considering the quality and considering the form and etc., maybe a draw is a fair result. But ultimately, I still think on a good day, I think Brighton would have probably stood a better chance. Right, Ipswich and Newcastle, a 4-0 thumping win for Newcastle, a hat-trick for Alexander Isak. No, they were just great. They were just brilliant from the first minute all the way to the end. Newcastle, yeah, Ipswich were nowhere, not threatening whatsoever. I mean, when Isak scored the first minute goal, I think that set the tempo immediately for the game. And yeah, to just get a hat-trick, Isak was wonderful. He was brilliant. The goals he scored, really slick moves as well. Jacob Murphy's goal was frightening in my opinion. That was just thundering, the power on that shot as well. But no, it's quite clear to me that Newcastle, they deserve to win this game. Ipswich, yeah, just a lack of quality. I think the quality difference was really, really evident in this one. But brilliant from Newcastle again. I just hope this continues because, again, as I believe that Newcastle have something more to show, considering how they've been for the past couple of seasons. After the Champions League campaign that season that they got top four, after that they've been dipping. It wasn't as good as it looks, but now I think we can probably have Newcastle that could potentially be getting better. They're playing football that I think is actually quite nice to watch. Like, it's very entertaining in my opinion, so that's good. But of course, from Ipswich's perspective, what does this suggest about the rest of their campaign? I think one match for this one is probably too much to tell. Like, it's too little to tell essentially, and I think it will be very harsh on Ipswich to say that, oh my god, this is probably brought them back down to earth immediately. But of course, again, it's clear sometimes, again, some clubs, the difference in quality is there. But definitely this game, I felt like they weren't threatening whatsoever. Like, yeah, I think it's a bit of an off game. By expecting Ipswich to lose versus expecting Ipswich to lose but put on a fight, I think I'm always looking at Ipswich at the latter. If they're able to fight for certain games but still lose, I still think it's probably a decent game from Ipswich's perspective. They're out there trying to fight, trying to get results. But of course, then games where they have this sort of spirit, they might look back at those games and think, oh my god, these are the games that we probably could have picked up a couple of points that could have saved us from relegation, for example. Because now they're in 19th, teams around them are starting to get points here and there. 20th is probably not going to happen for them. I think Southampton's pretty much secured that with a tick. But for Ipswich, yeah, they're still in the fight, they're still in the hunt. They still got to try. And I think McKenna has got to try to find ways to really just get the team together, still trying to get some points on the board, because they know it's not going to be consistent. As I said, it's like a Luton essentially, always hovering in those fringes. They just need a good run of form or some good games that they can really get wins out of that. Those are the ones that, in my opinion, are vital, crucial to helping them stay in the Premier League. But if you can have a lot of games like this one here in terms of performance and quality, yeah, they're definitely not going to survive the Premier League for sure. But maybe Newcastle have just been fantastic in that game. They've really shown something that can show. But could just be a one-off for Newcastle. Maybe after that, when they play the next game, it's going to be, again, not a very good game. But otherwise, I think, yeah, this match was, I think, expected. I mean, based on my predictions. But do I expect the result to swing heavily that way in Newcastle's favour? Probably not. But it's great for Newcastle moving forward. The confidence is going to be high for them going to the next game. As for Ipswich, again, they just need to dig deep. And yeah, I just hope things get better for Ipswich as well. Right, Brentford and Nottingham. 2-0 win for Nottingham. Now, obviously, I predicted 2-2. And this was at the back of when I said that Brentford were always unbeaten at home so far this season. They're coming to this game. Unfortunately, lost this one. It's their first loss at home for the season. I think Nottingham Forest, again, to me at least, they were clinical. They took the chance as well. Brentford weren't too bad. They had some really good chances. Again, maybe could have scored. But again, I guess this shows ultimately that Nottingham Forest are really a team that people just can't look down upon this season. Nuno is doing an exceptional job at this club that we have to agree to it. As I said, when I was really afraid of Nottingham having a bit of a downfall, they've just popped up with win after win, good result after good result. It's good. I don't have much more to say about Nottingham really. I'm just looking forward to see what they can produce after this, each and every game that they move forward. But of course, I think I expected a little bit more from Brentford. I mean, I expected them to be a little bit more competitive. I felt this wasn't very, very good. Of course, I think the second goal was thanks to a mistake from Brentford's backline. I mean, mistakes will happen in games, but in games like this, again, where you're trying to fight with a club that is probably fighting for, that you're probably arguably could be fighting with for a position in the Premier League, you want to minimize the mistakes as much as you can. You want to take all of your chances. You want to be able to stick into these sort of games and get something out of it. And I think Brentford, I think that was lacking from this game, evidently. I believe there should have been more out of them. Obviously, was missing in that game. But yeah, otherwise, I think this game just shows to me that again, Nottingham Forest can really do well in games, and I'm just looking forward to really what Nottingham can do. But for Brentford, I think it's a poor result from them, in my opinion. I think 2-0 suggests again, that they're still missing out on a couple of things, and I would hope that they're able to close that gap to those teams as well, and just be a lot more competitive in the games to come as well. Arsenal and Palace, 5-1 in this one compared to 3-2 in the EFL Cup. Gabriel Jesus has now scored 5 goals against Palace. Palace must hate him so much right now. But, I mean, Jesus didn't score in the past 23 Premier League games, and now he scored 2 in one game. But would we consider Palace to be a little bit unlucky? I mean, Arsenal has 6 shots on target. They've scored 5 goals. Maybe. But ultimately, I just think that, the quality difference is quite clear again. Just that maybe this one, I think the scoreline is a little bit too exaggerated. Did Palace have certain chances that could have made them a little bit more competitive? Yes, but then to match Arsenal's 5 goals, I think that would be difficult. I mean, arguably, Arsenal were just extremely clinical, but to match that sort of clinicality, I think it would have been asking a bit too much from Palace. I mean, 3-0 down at the break, one can argue Palace probably could bring it back to 3-2 again, but once they made it 4-1, I think it would have been a lot more challenging to even try to get back into the game. But I mean, it was obviously a lightning 15 minutes, a lively 15 minutes to have 3 goals. But otherwise, I just think, I mean, looking at the 2 games from Palace, I don't think it's too bad. I just think that, they can try harder, with the games moving forward. This game, again, I don't think they should take this too much. They shouldn't criticise themselves a little bit too much for this game. But Arsenal, fantastic, really. 5 goals to the good. Nothing more to say. They've closed the gap to Chelsea, of course. I mean, the gap to Liverpool still stays the same because both have won their games. But again, Arsenal starting to find a rhythm again, which is very positive in my opinion. I think the last time out I give Arsenal probably a B. Right, I said, the draw against Everton, and I can't remember the other team, but otherwise, it's still really, really good from Arsenal. They only lost 2 Premier League games this season, and maybe those are the only 2 games they've lost this entire season as well. So I think in that regard, it's not too bad. Just drawn too many games, and if they're able to convert those draws into wins, I think they still stand a chance to fight for the title, which is, I think, what we expect again. Arteta is doing a reasonably good job at the club. Of course, still no Premier League title to show for that, which obviously I think any Arsenal fan would hope for them to be a little bit more competitive. I mean, 2 seasons ago, 5 points behind City. 1 year ago, obviously last season, 2 points behind City. Now they've got Honda and Liverpool essentially, and just hope that they're able to dig in those sort of performances. And who knows, right? Maybe they will be more competitive towards from now to the end of the season. And as though as Liverpool and Chelsea drop points, then they do stand a chance. So the 3-way title fight is arguably there. How it will change the landscape, really, we'll find out as the game week starts to unfold. Right, Everton-Chelsea. Now this one, definitely disappointing game from Chelsea's perspective. You've the way the possession went, 75% possession compared to Everton's 25%. Many big chances. Again, could we argue that Pickford saved Chelsea? Yes, but at the same time, I still felt that Chelsea should have won that game. You're looking at the form book and you look at how competitive Chelsea have been over the games. That's poor from Chelsea, really. And Everton, again, lucky, I guess, in my opinion, to sort of get the 0-0 draw. But towards the end, Everton started to create a little bit of chance to trouble Chelsea. And in fact, one really good chance, I can't remember who was it, but one or two really good chances. Then Robert Sanchez obviously pulled off good saves. And honestly, it could have gone at 1-0 Everton, you know. So, poor from Chelsea, 100%. Hopefully this is an off game for them, but yeah, it's very hard to say really, you know, if this might continue. I don't think so. But yeah, I think this is sort of game where you would expect to win. And I think it's just short points for Chelsea, in my opinion. The aim should be to, I mean, whether or not they see themselves as a title challenging club this season, I mean, probably at the start of the season, this wasn't going to be the case. I think the situation it is now, I don't think they would expect themselves to be in like that. But then, you know, Liverpool, you want to hunt down Liverpool as much as you can when you have the opportunity to. You want to get as close to the top of the table as best as you can. Could the pressure be starting to mount on Chelsea to perform week in, week out? Probably. I mean, this has been a while since they've, you know, tried to challenge for the Premier League title. Arguably, at the moment, like to try to fight for a really good position in the Premier League. So yeah, you know, as I said, you know, it's a poor game. You've got to really take the chances moving forward. I think this is a good game as well for them to sort of learn the fact that they need to be better than this. They can be better, they know it, and you just need to show that sort of quality in the games to come. But yeah, I mean, Everton, good on them, I guess, to get another point, really. Point against Arsenal, point against Chelsea. Will they get a point against City? I mean, we'll discuss about that in the next video. Yeah, but I mean, Everton to get points against these two London clubs, it's not a bad result for them considering how poor again they've been for this season as well. Yeah. Man United 0, Bournemouth 3. I mean, this one is again, how do we look at this? Manchester United again struggling. Got a new manager, unable to convert chances, and to lose 3-0 at home at Old Trafford to Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth are flying, right? It's a flying Bournemouth. Yes, don't get me wrong. But to lose 3-0, and obviously the penalty, first of all, Mazraoui, the foul committed by Mazraoui, clear foul, stoned it penalty. That's poor decision making from Mazraoui in that regard. And then Semenyo was to score 2 minutes later. What's going on again? What is Amorim thinking, and what's Amorim going to do now moving forward? Again, inconsistency for Manchester United. They're now 13th in the Premier League table. This is the lowest they've been at Christmas since the inception of the Premier League, essentially, since the establishment of the Premier League. With a negative goal difference as well. This is poor again for Manchester United. It doesn't look like it's changed since Erik ten Hag. When Ruud was an interim manager, I think there was a little bit of hope. When Amorim came in to get some good wins, 4-0 against Everton, then that 2-1 win against City. Is there an expectation for United to do better? Yes. But to lose 3-0 to Bournemouth, now I expected them to lose 1-0. But that's about it really. I expected it to be a tight game. I just felt like, you know, Bournemouth probably are just a better club, essentially. I feel like they're able to fight a lot better than Manchester United. But 3-0 just shows to me that even if United had really good chances, right? But 3-0, 3 goals, season 3 is still a terrible result from Manchester United's perspective. How? What am I going to do? What is Amorim going to do? Essentially, nothing's changed, really. I think they've just gone sideways again. Sometimes we get wins, sometimes we just get defeats, and it's dependent on how the opponent plays, and that depicts on how Manchester United plays moving forward. Obviously, another game without Rashford and without Garnacho. What are they going to do with these two players? Do Manchester United need an entire rebuild? Probably again, but how are they going to do that? I don't really know. Again, Amorim's got to think about this really moving forward. It's going to be a challenge for sure for him. He should just stay Sporting, to be honest. But again, he's made the decision to come to this club, and he's got to, you know, figure out again how to make the club better. Otherwise, he's going to just, again, you know, walk down another Erik ten Hag kind of path. But as for Bournemouth, fantastic result, really. Now they find themselves in 5th. They're just flying, aren't they? Another win to their name. It's really exciting to see Bournemouth just doing so well as well. I mean, when Eddie Howe was with this club, right, and they were struggling, trying to do what they can, and even then, after that, you know, Eddie Howe was doing a really good job with Bournemouth, getting these like mid-table spots. I think they got relegated at some point, if I remember correctly. I think that was really disappointing. I think that was why, at the end of the day, Eddie Howe left the club. and after that only went to Newcastle, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's been up and down for Bournemouth, but again, Bournemouth, Nottingham, Villa, the rise that they've had over these past couple of years, brilliant in my opinion, and they should be proud of what they've done so far. And of course, we're close to the halfway mark of the season, but I really hope they're able to continue this form forward. See them in the top six, even if they're able to occupy top six this season. Props to them, honestly. But yeah, a great result for Bournemouth. I'm just excited to see more from them, to be honest. Right, Fulham, Southampton, a goalless draw. Another poor result from Fulham, in my opinion. I mean, again, you're at home. You want to get the best out of the result. They've had some good chances. Yes, keepers made a good save from Southampton. I think the goalkeeper, Ramsdale, done really well to get some of the saves in. But still, it's a game that you should be winning. Even if it's just by a goal to nil, you just need to win these sort of games. You know, you're playing against a side that's pretty much relegation bound, and only to get a point and not even score a goal. That's poor, honestly, from Fulham. Need to be better. Southampton, I mean, let's see what the new manager does really. It might be better, it might be worse. I don't really know. Obviously, I do hope that, fortunes would change at Southampton. As I said, the Southampton that I used to watch back in the day, just a couple of years back, to be honest, they were really, really good, challenging for Europe as well. But now they're fighting the fringes for relegation. So it's not good, in my opinion. And as I said, things need to change at the club. And they've got a new manager in. Let's see what this new manager does with the team. But yes, I think it's a good result from Southampton's perspective. I mean, any point at this point in time is crucial for them. Just to get a point on the board at least. But for Fulham, just poor. They need to do better than that. Right, Leicester 0, Wolves 3. Now, obviously, Wolves, with their new manager coming in, what can we say about it? Pereira's come in and just managed to sweep the floor immediately. First half, 3-0 instantaneously. What an impact that is. Of course, Leicester, that's Hermansen, the goalkeeper, and Danny Ward is just not good, in my opinion. And obviously, I guess that's a keeper problem that Leicester has at the club. But again, when Root came in just a couple of game weeks ago, to beat West Ham, and then obviously the 4-0 thrashing to Newcastle, and now 3-0 thrashing to Wolves. What does this suggest again? Is it something that he's not able to click with the team just yet? Or are these just proper worrying signs that, Cooper couldn't solve that and he got the sack. But with this one now, 7 goals conceded in 2 games. Are Leicester in trouble? Maybe, arguably. We'll see what happens with the next game week. Need to look at it again. But it's not good enough from Leicester. When you're, again, this to me is like a relegation 6-pointer. And it's a game that they should be competitive. 3-0, in my opinion, is not a competitive result at all. And good on Wolves, to get 3 points. After the departure of Gary O'Neill, I guess they desperately need it. And, to now be 2 points behind Leicester, who are in 17th, Wolves in 18th. Is this a sign of things to come for Wolves, to start to climb up again? Maybe. We said that, a couple of game weeks back, or I said that in a couple of game weeks back. But then they proceed to lose 4 in a row. So it's still a bit up and down. I think nothing's very concrete just yet from the form from these both clubs. But yes, Leicester will have to figure out now really what they're going to do moving forward, because a 3-0 defeat to a side who are relegation threatened is really not good as well. So yeah, this is not good. Poor essentially from Leicester. Great from Wolves, in my opinion. A great start for Victor Pereira. What's he going to do moving forward? Well, I guess we'll see and observe. Right, last game, Tottenham, Liverpool, 3-6 the final result. What do I make of this game? I didn't watch the game, I only watched the highlights. Liverpool were frightening on the counter-attack. I think the goals that Tottenham scored were pretty good as well. So it was a game that really just went bonanza, really. I was reading a little bit online and people were sort of saying that, Liverpool's left-hand side probably was a little bit weaker. I think they're trying to talk about Robertson's side. Maybe it wasn't good. No, actually, maybe, Alexander-Arnold's side. But yeah, they're talking about a point in time where Liverpool weren't really good at one of the wings, and arguably Tottenham could have just done something about it. Tottenham, the way the Liverpool scored their goals, they're all counter-attacking. I saw high line that Tottenham were playing, just pushing boys forward. And it's just like when Villa were playing against Liverpool, right? And I talked about how Villa were playing a really high line, pushed the players forward, and obviously from 2 corners, Liverpool scored 2 goals. But again, Liverpool are just filthy on the counter-attacking. They just have the plays, the legs, and the strength to push forward in that regard. And again, Liverpool's quality shown. Salah on mad form. Diaz also scored 2 goals. Nothing to say really, just great game from Liverpool. Tottenham, I think maybe they could have done better because to score 3 against Liverpool is really, really good. But then to concede 6, that to me is not good. So, again, Ange's got to think about it really. Again, Tottenham just inconsistent again. But Liverpool are just that good. So, I don't know what to say, how you can look at it. But yes, need to be better from Tottenham for sure. I think that's just poor. Not again, there's no competition essentially despite scoring 3 goals. But yeah, Liverpool, not too bad. Yeah, no, just fantastic really from Liverpool. Another win on the belt for them. And, still again, 4 points, 4-point lead ahead of Chelsea with a game in hand. Obviously against Everton, if they do win that, it'll be 7 points now. Yeah, I just think Liverpool are probably still going to win the league at this rate. So, brilliant job from Liverpool. But that'll be it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Again, it's a crazy game week. Things have happened. I think some games, really just not really good from some teams, evidently. But otherwise, they expect the teams to win. I guess they've won. But otherwise, yeah, again, another great week. I'm really looking forward to the next game week. We'll be on Boxing Day. And stay tuned for that video for the pre-game show for Game Week team. But yeah, get discussing in the comments down below once again. Drop a like on the video if you guys are enjoying the series. And of course, subscribe if you're new around here. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, goodbye.